Warriors. All right. Now, so we'll be there. We'll be in Beloit on Friday night. And then Saturday, rise and shine on the road. Wilmington, here we come. As the Purple Raiders of Mount Union will be on the road to take on the Wilmington Quakers. We'll have the action 1:30 on Saturday afternoon, 13:10. Let's bring in the head football coach of the Purple Raiders of the University of Mount Union. And, of course, is Geoff Dartt. Coach Geoff, how you doing this afternoon?
Great. Doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, you got it. Love having you here every Thursday to talk about the week before and to look ahead and see what's going on in the world of the Purple Raider football. Just a couple of quick ones from last week. I thought you guys were locked in when you came out of the locker room there in the second half against Otterbein, and I imagine you're pretty happy and pretty proud with the way you after the guys, you probably challenged them a little bit during the break, but they came out and they played some really good football for you.
Yeah, definitely finished in the second half, so really happy with that. Got off to a pretty good start in the first half. Unfortunately, we made a bad decision and we roughed the punter, which, kind of took the wind out of the sails of that first half. But he came right back and recovered the onside kick to start the second half. So definitely corrected himself there. But yeah, played really good in the second half, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And we've had a great week of practice so far. Looking forward to going down to Wilmington this weekend.
I got to say, any chance you've got that hoodie on in a 3XT?
Maybe. I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Maybe a 4, Coach. I'm not sure. I like
Okay.
stuff really big. For this Saturday, this is, I believe, this will be the furthest trip that you guys make in the regular season, anyhow.
Yes.
What does the day look like? What time does the alarm go off? What are the all the instructions? When to get on the bus? How long the trip? Little stop along the way. What's the game plan look like for Saturday?
Yeah, so we'll send half of the dress list down Friday. So they get down there, get some good rest.
Okay.
Normally it's a little bit maybe over the 2 deep. And then the rest of us will come down Saturday morning. So I think departure for that is around 6:45 a.m. So early, but, long trip. They'll bring all their pillows and blankets and they can get some rest on the way down.
Yeah, that is a long trip. But once you get there, stretch your legs out a little bit, get loose, get the juices going. You guys will be in good shape. Coach, if you could, maybe a little progress report so far. We'll start with the offensive unit, and we'll flip it over to the other side. Then we'll go to special teams. But we talked about Mikey last week. Of course, Darnell has been playing really well. Your receiving core has been outstanding. What has really stood out to you here in the first month of the season?
Yeah, that's a great question. From an offensive standpoint, really proud how we've adjusted up front on the offensive line. We've been battling a couple injuries there, and some young guys have stepped up into that role. Obviously Mikey is dynamic, and we talked about that before. But I think not just Darnell, but the whole running back room. I think they're really, really good in terms of what we asked them to do in the run game, and then, pass protection, protecting the quarterback. They've done a great job there. And then, the one group that has really stood out and had some great development this year is the tight end group. Wyatt Steele and Matt Anderson are the two guys that get most of the reps there, but their willingness to block, right, and then get their opportunities in the pass game, they've definitely executed great in that way. So, but yeah, we're excited for another opportunity to work together and get better.
I know it usually probably goes game by game, situation by situation. I don't know if I asked you this before. Maybe it was somebody, maybe in the high school coaching level. But as far as your playbook is concerned, how do you like to approach how deep you go into that as the season moves along? Is there a plan there, or just team by team, let it fly?
Yeah, there's always a plan. Obviously, depending on what the opponent is showing you in terms of what they're doing on defense specifically, what do we have to do as coaches to put our players at an advantage so they can go out and execute efficiently. So that changes obviously from week to week, like I said. But we have our foundational plays that, we want to be able to own and execute week to week.
Do you ever would you ever have had a conversation with the quarterbacks before or Mikey this year going into a game against a certain opponent, a game plan? And I know you guys watch a ton of film and try to break things down. Do you have conversations with maybe your QB and say, hey, what would you like to do here? Do you see something you might want to work on this week? Is there a couple of plays you might want to take a look at? Does that come into the process?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. You have to be able to empower your players. They're the ones that are going to be out on the field making the plays. So, in fact, the last two meetings, normally I meet with the offensive line and the running backs, and, we were going over a couple things in the run game and in pass protection, and just in terms of what do you guys feel comfortable with, right? Because if they don't feel comfortable, then they're not going to be confident in terms of, doing their jobs at a high rate. So yes, that's definitely a conversation that is had throughout the week, even out at practice when, we want to go a little bit quicker, but yeah, to have them have a voice is extremely important.
Has there ever been a situation where as coaches, you guys you've seen everything, you're ready to roll, and then maybe Mikey or somebody says, hey, what about do sometimes players see and maybe feel something maybe that the staff didn't for some reason?
Yeah, I can't speak to that specifically, but I think everyone, sees the game a little bit differently, right? Kind of in their own way. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think so. But like I mentioned, to empower our athlete or our student athletes that they're allowed to give feedback in terms of what they like, what maybe they don't like, and, to get them to feel more comfortable in order to execute efficiently, you have to be able to do that as a coach.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is, through the eyes of a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old, as opposed to a guy who's been on the staff for yourself, a head coach for years, you probably do see things a little bit differently, and you can probably pick up on stuff and kind of go with that. Speaking of film study, I've been wanting to ask you this for a while. How has film study changed over the years?
Well, obviously, from a technology standpoint, a whole lot. When Coach Karras comes in here and he talks about clip and film and all of that, he's got some great stories there. But yeah, I think just overall, I think it's your access to film, not only your film or the opponent that you're playing, but access to film from all over college football, all over the NFL. So I think that obviously generates ideas for what you want to do on offense, defense, and special teams. And, football's been around for quite some time. It's a copycat world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever the, flavor is for a season or a week, I think that you're going to see different variations of that across the board of all levels of football.
Head coach of the Purple Raiders of the University of Mount Union, Geoff Dartt, is our guest. Coach is with us every Thursday, 3:35, right here on the show, 1310 WDPN. We will be in Wilmington Saturday at 1:30 as the Raiders take on the Wilmington Quakers. And again, that'll be at 1:30 on Saturday here on 1310 WDPN. Coach, another huge impact by one of the guys that you brought in, linebacker Gavin Earhart. I think 10, 11 tackles last week. Yeah. And man, he was getting after it last Saturday.
Yeah. Another guy that's obviously taking advantage of his opportunities, and he's only gotten better and better. Came to us in the spring. Definitely got to give a shout out to Coach Mike Elder. Also a Mount Union Purple Raider. So Gavin kind of went the route of playing baseball in college. Didn't work out for him. Kind of glad that it didn't work out for him because now he's here with us. But yeah, really excited. He's a guy that just goes about his business every single day with intent. And, obviously we're seeing the benefits of that right now.
Speaking of recruiting and whether it's the high school route or you're going to try to find a couple guys that maybe they're in a situation they want to come somewhere else, and Mount Union is the perfect place for them to go, and you guys can come together and kind of make something like that happen. When you recruit kids out of high school, are you the type of coach that really loves the fact when guys are playing multiple sports, or do you just want them to kind of zone in on football? What are you looking for? What's your philosophy there?
No, I love multi-sport guys.
Okay.
I mean, I played 3 high school sports. Many of the guys on our coaching staff played multiple sports in high school. That's not to say that if you individualize what you're doing, I just think, you kind of you're able to be coached by different people, different coaches, obviously be around different teammates. Agility is something that I think shows up in any sport that you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think just some of the skills that you might learn from one sport to another, are critical in your athletic development. And then when you move on to the college level, I think that's a little bit more difficult. But, we've had many guys over the years do football and track,
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're running or throwing, and then a few baseball players here and there.
Yeah, that's it's hard to do in college because you're kind of married to that particular sport. Once you get there at that level, it takes a real special student athlete to be able to pull that up. But there are some, and the some that do it at a high level, it's kind of fun to watch. Geoff Dartt is our guest, head football coach of the Purple Raiders here on 1310 WDPN. Want to circle back to Mikey Maloney just for a second, and I remember reading the stat during the game. Our guy Nate Larisha had it as part of the game notes. I said, I'm gonna drop this in here right now. Well over 100 attempts, no interceptions. I mean, he is locked in. He is dialed in. Obviously, he is great at doing the progression thing. Is that one of the strong suits of Mikey?
Well, I hope you didn't jinx him.
I know.
First of all,
I shouldn't have said it. I did.
Yeah, no. I mean, Junior Collins is now calling the plays. I think he's done an excellent job connecting with Mikey, and also the receivers, and obviously those guys are always in the film room together, communicating with one another. So the little tweaks and adjustments that are made on a weekly basis and per practice has obviously shown up, right? So we definitely want to continue to do what we're doing there. But yeah, I can't say enough about, obviously the quarterback group and the wide receiver group being on the same page with one another.
Coach, how do you guys usually finish up a practice at Mount Union? You everybody come in, you got a little chant. Do you make them run a little bit before you send them home? How do you usually finish things out?
Yeah. So, we don't necessarily condition. We try to, be pretty active throughout the course of practice. I think that's really the only way to prepare yourself for football is by playing football. Then, at the end, we'll, come together as a team. I might make a few announcements. I'm not a big rah-rah guy, pregame in the locker room or really after practice. If I have something that I need to address, I'll address it. And then, we split into position groups, little communication there. And then we let the guys go get a shower and dinner. So, we can meet with them usually about, hour and 10 minutes after practice. We get right back in the film room.
Very good. All right, Coach, it's a 3-question Thursday quiz here on the show. I'm only going to ask you the third one because the first two probably don't apply because you probably won't be going to a high school game on Friday and probably don't want to talk.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe we're all
my daughter has a practice swim meet at the Louisville Y. So
okay.
I'm not too sure how late that will run, but I'll definitely attend that. And then I'd like to go see the game over in West Branch.
Aha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, come on up and say hello if you're up there. At least knock on the window.
Okay.
We'll be there. All right. So your question today, everybody has a bucket list, right? What's at the top of Coach Geoff Dartt's bucket list?
just in generally speaking?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Place you want to go, something you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the tradition here at Mount Union is to win a national championship, and I want that more so for our players and for our assistant coaches that do all the hard work in terms of preparation and everything. So, yeah, so that from a football standpoint, I
Okay.
mean, bucket list overall, I don't know. I think I mentioned this last week that I have the best job in the world, which I do, living about a mile away from campus. So I'm a pretty simple guy. So I'm pretty happy.
You don't want to go to Antarctica or something like that?
No.
Okay.
No, I definitely don't want to go to Antarctica. Maybe my bucket list would, and if my wife ends up seeing this, she'll probably not be happy with it. But maybe not making a Disney trip every year. Yeah, that would be.
Coach,
no, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna help you out here. I just saw an article yesterday. It is $209 a ticket now to get into the Magic Kingdom per person.
Yeah, I know. We went last year. We actually drove down there.
No.
So, and it's obviously it's all about the kids, but
sure, of course.
Yeah. So I don't know if she'll see this or whatever, but I do love her, and she's got a birthday coming up. So I was just joking in terms of what I was saying.
All right. Well, if that's in the cards, make sure you get the fast pass. All right. Coach, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Safe travels to the crew down to Wilmington, and we'll see you on Saturday afternoon.
All right. Thanks. Go Raiders.
There he goes. Geoff Dartt, head football coach of the Purple Raiders of Mount Union.